Even the mascots outside the polling stations don't seem very enthusiastic. Overall turnout in Moscow was only 21%. City council elections drew candidates from the governing United Russia Party and other Kremlin-friendly parties, but many opposition candidates were kept off the ballot. President Vladimir Putin cast his vote early. The lack of choice didn't bother him too much.
In some countries, there are 30, 50, even 100 candidates. That doesn't mean to say they do better work. It's quality, not quantity, that counts. I think we have worthy candidates.
The exclusion of dozens of opposition candidates has inspired weekly protests since midsummer. The police have cracked down hard, and more than 2,000 demonstrators have been arrested. The best-known opposition figure, Alexei Navalny, took to social media to call for voters to choose candidates who would do the most harm to the governing party.
Every single vote the party doesn't get is good, even if it's not for us. But we hope that we can do more to counter them.
Local and regional votes were held across the country, but the real test comes in 2 years with new parliamentary elections.
And for more on that, let's bring in our correspondent, Aaron Tilton, who is in Moscow. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit more about the results that we have so far.
Well, now with 100% of the vote counted, we've seen that that Russia's fractured opposition has actually managed to make extreme inroads into local government here in the city of Moscow. They've actually managed to take 20 of a possible 45 seats. And that's actually a great victory for the opposition. You have to realize that Russia has a very fractured opposition landscape with a lot of different parties. Some are aligned with the Kremlin, others are outside of the government and have more radical elements within them. And because of that fractured nature of the opposition, they've had a lot of trouble actually making inroads when it comes to breaking United Russia's kind of monolithic grasp when it comes to Russian political life. And what we've seen now is kind of a change of the old logic. It used to be the case that if you're a member of Putin's party, you automatically had election success. And the election to the City Duma here in Moscow shows that that old math may not actually be accurate anymore.
So what does all of this mean then for Putin and for his United Russia Party?
Well, that really is kind of the question. I mean, right now it would be way too early to say that Putin is in danger of losing power, but it seems that the party that's kind of supported him for the better part of the last 2 decades is starting to lose its appeal to many average, everyday Russians. I mean, only around 30% of Russians say they currently support United Russia, and many political experts say the brand has actually become toxic. And we're starting to see a lot of their candidates starting to run as independents out of fear that association with the party could actually lose them or cause them to lose support among the population. And, you know, that's also part of the reason we may have seen some of these heavy-handed crackdowns on opposition protests in recent months. And what's really interesting about that is that seems to be galvanizing support for the opposition among a young generation of Russians. And a lot of political experts here are even calling it kind of a revolution, a repoliticalization of the Russian youth, which is something we haven't seen in the last several decades.
Aaron Tilton in Moscow. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.